Hello, Assalamu alaikum. Thank you so much for having me again. We are discussing in our last class regarding the case study essentials, the basics of case study. And the topic was turning the real life challenges into classroom learning, the art of writing, teaching case study. We are in our last discussion, we have already discussed these slides. Give me a few seconds to show the things. Yes, the slides we have already discussed in our last lecture. So today we will be here for discussing some other issues for drafting a good teaching case study. So we'll be starting to write the case study, teaching case study. But before writing and before going to drive into deep, we need to make ourselves ready. As like while you will go for participating in sports, we always warm up ourselves for getting the best output for the sports like this before moving to write on and move on to drafting the case. We should focus on some issues like we need to enthusiastic about it. I mean, if you do not have any interest to write the case on a specific issue, it's quite tough for drafting it. Like I'm a sports lovable person, sports loving person, so I can write a case regarding the sports industry or sports related issues. So definitely, until and unless getting the published paper, you must have to be enthusiastic and also engaged in doing these things. The second is about go out into the field and build network. Yes, while we will be drafting a case study, you need to go to the any organizational setting with meeting some new employees. Taking interviews of the key person of the organizations, and from the organizations key person, you can refer and find another new person to meet on and get the information make valid with your previous interviews, and then try to participate at some case workshop and read good cases. I mean, if you want to write or draft any application, a silly document, definitely you should follow and you try to find the previous one for following the guidelines. Similarly, you need to read some good cases based on your interest. You might not get some downloaded papers, but yes, Emerald, which they have the two journals regarding case specifically, they can offer 2 3 pieces of free downloaded document you can find there. And also they have the teaching hub, case hub. I mean, there they offer some good webinars and workshops for the students, so you guys can register yourself there and participate in the case workshops frequently occurred with the huge time manner, and be clear on your teaching objectives and learning outcomes. I mean, a few minutes in the last slide we have already discussed about the Bloom's taxonomy. Therefore, we can touch the action verbs for clarify the students about the teaching objectives. What would be the outcomes from the case study? It means what would be the learning outcomes after solving the case, as well as you must need to address the teaching objective as well. So what would be the faculty members objectives to teach the students, what he wants to uh, I mean generate new knowledge from the case study from the student as well, and identify a writing partner mentor. Most cases I have seen, or maximum of the published case teaching case study consists of three maximum authors I have seen. I don't know, either 5 or 6, the number of authors, I have no idea actually. I didn't find many authors who wrote single case. Okay, so your co-author or your mentor or your supervisor or your friend even can proofread your paper, what you have written. You can seek some supports to proofread the paper to them, and definitely, after the proofreading, it might be possible to enhance the quality of your writing styles. And what sorts of information you need to collect from the websites, primary sources, or even secondary sources, company reports, interview person, interview informations, many things. One last thing, but not the least, is that get the letter of consent and permission to the publisher. কোন কোন জায়গা থেকে you have collected the data, you must need to address the consent. That's the factor. You know, from where you have collected the data, he or she will be a protagonist. What is the meaning of protagonist? Protagonist will be your real character, a real hero of your case. So definitely you need to collect the consent from the protagonist and as well as the organization. Sometimes it might happen you are collecting only the photos from the organization's website. It's also necessary to collect the consent from the organization. But if you draw any picture following the company's guideline, that does not necessarily mean to collect the data or consent from the organization. So now the question is from where or from which sources you can collect the case projects or case study. Yes, you can find the potential case projects from two reliable sources. One is syllabus, I mean, what curriculum we are following uh, uh, for our assigning course we are teaching students based on the curriculum. And the second one is the story. Well, we'll be discussing the story a little bit later. So what is the syllabus means? Yes, when we see the curriculum or syllabus, there we can find the curriculum, and the curriculum consists of some important aspects like learning outcomes, what are the topics that you need to teach your students, as well as if you see is there any existing cases, and these existing cases written on the other part of the worlds on a specific problem on company and similar problem you are facing in your organization, then you can relate the case. That's why you can collect the story from the existing cases as well. And gaps for the new cases means a single case can consist of 5 6 problems as well. So if it is not possible to solve the cases, each problems from one company, one organizations, one cases, then you can go for other cases to meet and fill up the gaps of these existing cases. So these are the potential sources or documents from where you can find the I mean key focus of your new case projects. And the other part, it tells about the story. I mean, what are the story you can collect from different sources? Media story, it is related to the what are the topics that nowadays are the contemporary. You can collect data and you can use this for your case as well. I mean, in nowadays in Bangladesh, there is a issue which is what exact way the upcoming elections should perform. So it's a big case, and it grabbed the attention of the media. So you can make a story based on the voting systems of Bangladesh. It might be a case. And the alumni story, it means you might fail, you might popular to many alumni who are who become the entrepreneurs nowadays. They are successful businessmen, but sometimes they are facing some problems in real life regarding the management situation of the organization. So you can collect the story from him as well. And then consulting story, sometimes it happens that many of our friends who are gossiping with many issues, among the issues we can find some good stories regarding writing a case study topic. And finally, the investing company, I mean, the company which has some uncertain results, like you can say, in the last year, your market share was 5%, and nowadays it stands to the 50%. So how is it possible? So you can put it into a case study. How is it possible to increase 45% share within 1 year? And then The contact and sources. So from where you are collecting data, definitely you need to mention the contacts, addresses. You need to acknowledge. Do not need to, but you must need to keep your record about the. Who helps to collect data from different collect a story from different sources, and what sources will be reliable. You from where you have collected your project sources. You also need to address it, and then ready to write the case study. Uh, as we all know, case study is a pedagogical tool that helps students to learn about the real life situation. So how is it possible to turn the real life situations to the classroom environment? There you need to follow, or you need to remind the three components that helps to draft a teaching case study, which is very important slide for this lecture. The case study, teaching case study basically consists of three components, or you cannot deny the three components, or if is there any missing of any components, there is a possibility to reject the case from the journal as well. So according to EMCS, one of the renowned case journals, according to their viewpoint, there are three components of writing a teaching case study. The first one is open or unsolved dilemma or any decision. The second one is real protagonist, and the third one is the organizational setting. Without the dilemma, uh, uh, while you will write something on a company, on an organization, it will be treated just like a report or assignment. But while it will be included the dilemma, the students will read this and fall into a hole, try to overcome the challenges and try to give a solution. And the dilemma is unsolved, then you can write it and put it on your case study. Definitely, the dilemma should have the choices or options. If you see the COVID, at the time, there were three or four types of vaccines were available, and we were thinking which will be effective and which might not have the side effect in the near future. So the decision or the problem was like that, and then definitely it should be based on the importances and emergencies, and also the timeline should be mentioned there. Either the case study is relatable for nowadays or the over the period. 4, 5, or 6 years later, the case study will be effective. And then real protagonist. Who is the real hero or real villain? We'll be discussing regarding the protagonist a little bit later on. Then the real protagonist voice should be Mr. William or Mr. William or Mr. Samuel, Mr. Peter. His voice need to mention and need to input it the case body, as well as if he or she provides any quotation, definitely we should include it. And definitely his voice or the protagonist interview should be descriptive and definitely collect the consent later. And finally, according to the EMCS, there should have the relevant background and useful data. Which organizational context you are working on. You need to collect the relevant background of the company and the supporting data you should collect. The statistical, scenario, the profit, the loss, the employee retention, number of employees working, environment, many things that will support the case. You need to write 8 pages of the case. So you can add some valuable information, statistical viewpoint to support your case and make it more rigid towards the society and enjoyable to the society, to the audiences. So yes, for today, this might be the last protagonist of the cases and the title of the cases. The protagonist means who will be the real hero of your case or the main villain of your case. So I couldn't find the word villain to anywhere, but I have added it. I mean, either he has some positive impacts or might have negative impacts who is facing the problem, and for overcoming this problem he needs to take a certain decision. So he is protagonist, and while you will be playing as a role of protagonist, I mean, while you will be reading the case, you will think yourself and place yourself at the same time, at the same point of the case. I mean, if your protagonist name is Rohim, you will be thinking yourself as a Rohim, and you will try to solve the problem and give the decision towards the towards the employee, and based on the solution the organization will move towards forward. And without protagonist it will be just like as a teaching tool, nothing else, or work will be a report or assignment. And finally the protagonist will take the decision, and he will provide some other opportunities or provide solutions later on. The learner or the students can take or grab and relate this theory or decision with their real life challenges. So that's all about today. And in the next session, we'll be discussing about the contemporary case study, how to write. Okay, by the way, so we have already fixed and we have already got to know about the protagonist, about the components of case study. And last, before selecting, before moving to the next, I mean, drafting the case study, we need to know about the setting, selecting the contemporary case title. So you need to find a title. Definitely it should be lucrative. Definitely it should be time relevant towards the contemporary, relevant with the contemporary issues, timely, time sense. I mean, whose impact, who has great impact in recent days. Okay, and finally your case title and your case topic should be definitely worthy of contributing educational value and learning. I mean, while the students will read the case, students will be more than happy to engage, and they might uh, tell you that yes, I have learned something new. So this way you can, or anybody can draft a title for uh, teaching case study, writing teaching case study. So thank you so much for today. I hope to see you in the next lecture about the structure and drafting the case study. Thank you so much. Assalamu alaikum.